Welcome everybody out to podcast number 405. Are you solving problems effectively? Stay with us.
This is the Elevate Construction Podcast, delivering remarkable content for workers, leaders, and companies in construction wanting to take their next step. Get ready to step out of your comfort zone with Jason Schroeder as he encourages you to do better, live a remarkable life, and expect more. Let's go.
Welcome everybody. I hope you're doing well on this Friday, wonderful Friday. I walked outside this morning and smelled some smoke. It's not like fire, house burning down smoke, but like backyard fire pit, barbecue kind of smoke. And I was like, oh, that smells like winter in Phoenix. It's so fun. So I really hope you're having a good time. I'm looking forward to the weekend. Katie bought me tickets to a Jim Gaffigan show tonight. So we're going to jam out to that. Got lots of good stuff planned. We've got holiday decorations continuing to go up, and we're just having a great time. So today I want to talk to you about problem solving, but I want to tell you a really cool story. So this story centers in Phoenix, and it was down by the airport, and I'm going to tell you some details, but I do want to make it very clear is that the owner and the contractor in this example were just above reproach, fantastic, and delivered a quality product. And this is how we got there. So I'm going to tell you this story, and it's going to lead into the topic here about problem solving. So at Phoenix Sky Harbor International Airport, there's a guideway that goes from Terminal 4 to the East Economy Lot to the 44th Street Station. And a contractor was brought on to build this entire thing. It was about $450 million, huge mega project. And so you have these huge columns, these pilasters that these structural columns that go up to these girders. A lot of them they're precast that then form the basis of an actual guideway where there's stem walls and there's a slab on precast, or there's a slab on deck up there that gets placed to connect everything together. And then there's these plinths that the rubber tire trains run on, and they're actually not trains with like railway wheels on a track. They're actually rubber tire. If you ever go into most of these airports, they have rubber tires on these cabs, the SkyTrain, and they run on a rail, this central rail, which we call that follows the PGL, and that curves around this guideway. And what it does is it guides these cars that are connected together on rubber tires to drive on these plinths. And what they really want is a really nice, beautiful ride. Okay, so roll everything back. I'm working for this company, and they are really, really great with field engineering. So we start and we ask, can we traverse the entire network? We were told no because of certain government restrictions. So literally the client and the contractor, literally nobody's fault. Okay, so we can't tie these things together. So construction moves forward, and the 44th Street Station is going good. The East Economy Lot's going good. The Terminal 4 Lot's going good. And they figure out that something has gone wrong. Something from a layout perspective isn't right. And instead of moving forward and attempting to move defects down the line, this company and the general superintendent are wise enough to say, nope, let's stop and figure this out now. So Katie and I think we had 6 kids at the time. We come out by request. We get into one of those, it's not all across America, but like an American Adventures, or I don't know, if you saw it, you would see like big paintings on the side of the van. But anyway, these huge vans, took it from Texas, drove the family out here. That's when I first got introduced to Angry Birds, and for like a week I was addicted to Angry Birds. But anyway, so it was Thanksgiving, and the same kind of smells that I'm smelling this morning are the same smells that are in the air at that time. Anyway, so to figure this out, I get to work all the way over Thanksgiving and the holidays to figure this out with a group of people. But it's very, very urgent. This is a multi-$100 million project, and we have to get going. And all we know is that there's a suspicion that something's in the wrong place and that things aren't fitting together, and that there might be a potential for rework, quite a bit of rework. So I want to take you through the process of what we did. So in looking at what the problem was, it wasn't, hey, let's go out and just talk to people, which we did. But I went out and talked to people, and gathered a team and really focused on getting data. So we got all the data that we could find, and then we knew that the problem was centered around the location of the curbs, the little stem walls on the side of the train, and that it likely had to do with a survey defect. And we immediately set out to traverse the entire site. Now, if you've ever traversed a site that large, you know that it takes quite a bit of time. You have your total station, you have to turn multiple angles, shoot multiple distances. It's just a huge undertaking. You have multiple setups, and the question, not by the general superintendent, but by some other people, are like, do we really even have time for this? We need to get going. No, we need to get their data. So we ran a traverse through Terminal 4, the East Economy Lot, the 44th Street Station, all the way around, and tied that traverse in at an acceptable order of accuracy. We really did a nice job there. And then what we wanted to do is, or what we needed to do, is figure out where all of the edges along this guideway, these precast girders, and then the slabs that were placed on top of the precast members, and the edges of those where the trains would, come up in contact with or come close to the stem walls and the curbs on the sides. We wanted to know where those were. So we took side shots. And if you don't know what a side shot is, it's where we set up on a traverse point and we take a backside. We set up on our occupied point, we take a backside, we set 0, and all you do is turn a distance and an angle to these shots. And so I had 2 engineers helping me and some other people helping me with data calculations. And literally, we're producing nothing right now. Like, people are wondering what is going on. And, this whole $450 million project is waiting on us, but we're still collecting data. But we remain calm. And we take these side shots, and I'm talking like maybe thousands of side shots. And we plot that data and we pull that in and double check that and we pull that into AutoCAD. Now, here's the thing. You can use you can use coordinate geometry applications, you can use data collectors, and we did that, but there were certain types of data that had to be verified, meaning if we were doing the distance and the angle, or we were doing traverse calculations for the direct and reverse and the angles, we had to enter that data into our spreadsheets that we had for this. And we also had to double check it. So if it was like, okay, 415.3500, okay, northing, 6, 8, 9, 10, 1005.12345, whatever, these numbers. As soon as they were entered in, then I would repeat back that same number back to them. It was a tedious process. And somebody had mentioned, well, okay, let's skip the repeating this back. Let's just get through the data. And I was like, no, what we need to do is get this right. So we're going to follow all of our quality checks. We're going to turn over every stone. We're going to get everything figured out here, and we're going to go through and actually identify what's going on so we can get this back on track. So we stuck to our guns, and we calmed down, and we stuck with the process, and we told people what we were doing. Okay, so we get all these side shots in, which then in AutoCAD allowed us to map out the PGL by design. That was basically the center grid line on curves and spirals, right? And they call it the PGL. For the life of me, I can't remember what that freaking stands for. It sounds like it sounds a little unauthentic. But anyway, I'll come over. So it's grid line. It's dang it, I can't remember what the P stands for. Anyway, so the PGL is this basically a center grid line that's on curves and spirals that represents the curvature of the guideway. Anyway, so we plotted that. We plotted the clearance for the cabs outside of the plinths, and we figured out where we might have some issues. Now, once we identified that, we saw that we had an issue, but there were 2 key areas where we needed to figure out what to do. And there was some further digging. We didn't know what was going on. So we kept going through, well, what else could it be? And I remember a moment where in our problem solving efforts, we got in front of a whiteboard and we were like, okay, we're just brainstorming here. What could have gone wrong? Well, this, what could be going on here? This, and we just kept writing it up there. Okay, why could this one section just be off and the rest of the sections aren't off? Well, I don't know. It was a different person. There was a person that was in charge of that. They used GPS on that section. And then it was like, oh, click. Okay. That's the one thing that we didn't reference. And we went back and talked to the person who had laid this out with GPS. And turns out this guy wasn't following direct orders, and the company actually took steps to correct this situation. But this guy had a horrible attitude. We were able to identify what the problem was. Anyway, so he was like, and he was headed out on a flight to go to some convention while I was there in from Texas fixing this problem. I mean, he was a complete dirtbag. Like, this guy was horrible. Anyway, he basically dumped the GPS equipment and the data collector on my desk and was like, so this is what we used. I had a couple of problems. The localization wasn't exactly working out, but here you go. I'm off on a flight. And I was like, wow, if my daughters ever marry a dirtbag like this, like, I'm going to freak. Anyway, so horrible garbage human being. I'm sure his mother and God loves him, but man, this guy, like, if I ever saw him again, my first reaction would be to punch him in the face. Anyway, so I have to go figure out how to charge and turn all this crap on and beg people for passwords because this guy's a dirtbag. Okay, I'm done. Okay. Anyway, so I go in there and I remember him saying, like I'm a detective, right, that something was wrong with the localization. So I go back in the data collector files to find out the GPS localization that he used, and come to find out, Home Dude, without telling anybody, had falsified a coordinate geometry system with the surveyors. And basically, because the 44th Street station wasn't matching up, something wasn't matching up, he falsified the grid system in that section and put the grid system, the coordinates, in askew without telling anybody. Now, this is not good behavior, and this is not how the company didn't deserve it, the owner didn't deserve it. These things just didn't deserve to happen. So what happened was, he falsified that. And if you have a skewed, falsified coordinate system, the GPS doesn't assume that you've skewed it or rotated that coordinate system. It basically keeps the northing and easting, the coordinate geometry system, vertical, but assumes that the points are farther apart and will centralize on it. So if it was 5 inches skewed, it doesn't skew the coordinate system in a GPS localization. It actually, holy cow, how do I get this stinking computer to stop making noise? Okay, all right, I think I'm back. Be quiet, computer. Anyway, so there we go. I think we got that fixed. All right, so what it did is it centralized on that 5-inch mistake, and it moved the GPS coordinate system, the localization, 2.5 inches over. And so that's why all the curves in that area were 2.5 inches off, and the areas that were laid out from a total station for primary control were correct and didn't have any rework that was needed. So we found out that was the problem, and then that led us to figuring out that there was a 5-inch bust, not from the contractor, not from the owner, but from the surveyors. And these are third-party, contracted through the design, the whole nine. It was 5 inches off. So what we were able to do was figure out, okay, this is our problem. And now we're able to identify through the overall traverse and the side shots why we have a problem at point A and point B. Now, we didn't just stop there. So we were able to make a presentation. I remember the general superintendent saying, hey, we're bringing in the big dogs from the city. I need you to present what's going on. So we made some visuals. We talked it over and we presented and we said, hey, this is what's going on. And they were like blown away. Oh my gosh, we found this investigation. And the root cause was and this wasn't blaming people, but we weren't able to traverse the whole system. So coming back, we said, okay, we're going to figure out how we can do this and get us back on schedule. So over Thanksgiving, what we figured out was that the existing location of the 44th Street station would work, but how do we get this entire guideway to merge together to where it's a nice, smooth, beautiful ride and get the coordinates on the primary control to where all the contractors knew what to do? So we figured out if we took one segment of the guideway and we created a specific modified spiral, and we fabricated the central rail, the actual guide rail in that section to be specific for that modification, that we could keep everything else overlaid. And so we took the design and we overlaid it with the new location of the 44th Street station. Everything else stayed the same. And we were able to preserve the wonderful, really high craftsmanship for the guideway and the curbs and everything that had been built. with the exception of one little segment where we had to fix the 2.5-inch bust from Dirtbag from Home Dude. And then we were able to modify that spiral. And so everybody right after Thanksgiving, they were able to get back to work. And we had modified primary control files. We had modified coordinates that were not falsified. Everything was 100% accurate, and we knew what the fix was. Now, I do want to say, we would have never got to that point if we hadn't slowed down, calmed down, and stuck with the quality process. So many times when we get into a rush, we start to abandon quality, abandon our double checks, abandon our calmness. We start to freak out. We make the problem worse. So when we're doing problem solving, step one, define the problem. What is the problem? Now, this is going to take some time. And so so many wise philosophers throughout history have said, if I had an hour to fix the problem, I would spend 55 minutes defining the problem and 5 minutes solving it. Or if I was going to cut down a tree, I'd spend 55 minutes sharpening the saw or the axe, and I'd spend 5 minutes cutting it down. Same thing here. We have to, a lot of times, we were taught by our parents to be loved that we needed to be busy, so we go into immediately asking tactical questions, or tactical, not T-A-K-T, I'm saying T-A-C-T-I-C-A-L. Anyway, so tactical questions, tactical solutions, and so we get tactical answers that are sometimes wrong, quite frankly. And what we need to do is really define the problem. What is really, really, really going on here? And let's not go past finding that out, and let's take the time. And so I'd say the biggest thing that helped me in that example is keeping a calm head, even though $450 million worth of project is waiting, well, not the whole amount, but that size of a project, right? And that I have to work Thanksgiving, that I want to be with my family, and blah, 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 blah. It's like, nope, we cannot abandon this. We have to find out what's going on. So define the problem. We brainstormed, we dug, we investigated, we did our checks, we did them right. We just dug. Then we clarified what it was. Then we said, okay, what is the goal? Instead of just chucking it at somebody and being like, hey, owner, this is our problem, and then head back to Texas, it was like, okay, here's how we can make this better and leverage the assets or the conditions that we already have, right? So once we define those goals, or the outcomes rather, and identified the root cause of the problem, then we developed an action plan, got everybody on board, executed that action plan, and then evaluated the results. And then we continuously improved. So going through step one, define the problem. What is the problem? Step two, clarify the problem. Step three, define the outcome. Step four, identify the root cause and the actual problem. Step five, develop the action plan. Step six, execute the action plan. Step seven, evaluate the results. Step eight, continuously improve. Now, I want to say, whenever I work with teams, the first step is to appoint a leader. The second step is to gather the input from everybody. This third step is to develop a plan. The fourth step is to make sure everybody knows that plan. And the fifth step is then to do the PDCA cycle to see if that's working. And so when we do these processes in boot camps and other trainings, and I'm telling them, hey, what's the first step? What's the second step? What's the third step? And they're like, appoint a leader, gather the information, and make a plan, and communicate the plan. Nobody does it. Everybody's just immediately, tactically going off into siloed conversations, trying to figure out the problem themselves. You have to do this as a team. No problems belong to an individual. All problems belong to the group that is the team. Okay. So when you're in step one, defining the problem, stay calm, leverage the team, appoint a leader, gather all the input, and use the team to make a plan. Clarify the problem, define the outcome, make sure you know what the root cause is so you're not tactically fixing the wrong problem. Develop the action plan, make sure everybody understands, and then make sure step 6, everybody's going to execute together in unison. Step 7, evaluate the results. Step 8, keep the problem fixed. And I just hope this little example has helped you, because problem solving has been huge in my life and it will be in yours. The biggest 2 takeaways is stay calm and do not abandon the quality steps that you have in your process. On we go.
Please join us next time in elevating the entire construction experience for workers, leaders, and companies coast to coast. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to share with your construction colleagues and help us spread the word by rating, subscribing, and leaving a review on your preferred podcast listening platform. We really appreciate it. We'll catch you next time on the Elevate Construction Podcast.